It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Yeah, but you think about it, Eric, since the whole redistricting thing, you've heard from AOC, you've heard from the Democrats that have mostly been in the news.
Yeah.
AOC, excuse me, not AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Mandani, and Newsom.
Yeah.
Where's AOC been? She may be out there, but she's not getting any publicity at all. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. But
I haven't heard from her at all. I don't know what's going on. I mean, you would think she would be more active with Mamdani, right?
Yeah. But he's got, I mean, every day there's like tons of publicity for him this week. It was the pro-prostitution.
Yeah.
We need, that's what we need in New York.
Mm-hmm.
You know, did I ever say it? I can't remember now. I don't know if I said it to you off the air, if I said it to somebody else, or I said it on the air. We've talked about so many things this week. But I started thinking, as a politician, even if you're pro-prostitution, is that something that you bring up in the campaign as a major issue?
Right. Wouldn't you address it later?
Right. Once you become nobody, I don't think anybody's out there. What constituency is saying, doggone it, we need more prostitution? I mean, maybe they are. I don't know about it. Maybe that's something in New York. Doggone it, we need more hookers. Got to have more hookers. If I'm going to have my pot, I got to have hookers. I can't have pot without hookers.
Yeah.
I mean, are we missing something?
Well, I just don't get that draw. You know, I guess there would be a weird kind of tourism. Ew.
Well, it isn't working for Vegas lately.
No. It's just bizarre to make that part of a campaign. Address it later. I don't know. I don't live in New York State. I don't live in New York City. But I haven't seen any stories where, look, we got to do something about legalizing prostitution. You know, the legalization of weed, that was everywhere.
Right.
Legalize it and tax it. You know, and now.
Yeah, you don't hear anything like, hey, ho. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, never.
That's,
never,
yeah,
okay.
Probably.
But no.
You might hear that, but it wouldn't be part of it.
Being a former citizen of New York.
Yeah.
God, that sounds so bad.
Ex-citizen.
Gary, I started listening to you, and when you said you were an ex-citizen of New York, you mean you were a citizen of New York State?
Well, yeah.
Yes.
You were born there. It's on your birth certificate.
You're right. Growing up in the Western New York area, I don't remember once a politician saying, I'm pro-prostitute. It may have happened. I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Since we're mentioning New York. Oh, this story fits in, right? I just love this one. The last week of the NFL preseason, last weekend, then the cut's made next week. Then they go 2 weeks, and it's a week past Labor Day that the NFL season begins. And as we told you, it looks like this entire NFL season is going to be Kaepernick free.
Yeah.
We haven't heard that way. There's been no discussion on any team picking him up, even with quarterbacks being injured. I saw Lamar Jackson was injured. I don't know how bad it was yesterday in practice. But you still haven't heard it at all. Nothing. In April, I think his wife brought it up once or something. But other than that, it hasn't been brought up. And we all know now that Spike Lee's documentary has been shelved, and they won't sell it to anybody else. They're like, no
Right.
documentary. And we do think it's because Spike Lee, even though he's far left, did look and say, man, we interviewed this guy. He's the most boring individual you could possibly ever imagine.
Right.
There's nothing that's going to bring people in to see him. We're not going to waste our money on this. But in other news, I couldn't believe that this one, I knew this was local in Buffalo. I think it went national yesterday. Billionaire Terry Pagula, the owner of the NFL's Buffalo Bills and the NHL's Buffalo Sabres, is not in good standing with some New Yorkers after a recent video of his yacht anchored in Newport, Rhode Island, after it surfaced. It's normal for billionaires to be spotted with these massive vessels, but when the New York State taxpayers are partially covering the cost of the Bills' new $2.1 billion stadium in Buffalo, they are now taking exception to Pagula's $100 million yacht. Members of the Bills Mafia, that's what they call Bills fans. People don't know that. Were furious and made their opinions known on social media. The Pagulas are relaxing in Newport while we pay for a stadium. That's a slap in the face. One fan wrote on social media. Another said, love the Bills, but this stadium deal is robbery. Pagulas pay nothing while we go broke. While some are furious, others are pointing the fingers at the state legislators instead. The city didn't have to approve the deal. The state didn't. One ex-user said, the city didn't have to approve the deal. They did, meaning the state legislators and the Pagulas. And he also put a damn good product on the field before building a new stadium. I'm not really standing with the billionaire here. I'm just saying the city approved it, not Terry. New York taxpayers will pay $600 million for the new stadium construction. Erie County, that includes Buffalo, taxpayers $250 million, more money than ever, public money than ever has gone for a stadium.
Wow.
So there you go. And they say, let me see, this is, there it is. This is most taxpayer money ever committed to an NFL stadium. There are many critics of the deal, especially considering Pagula has a reported net worth of $7 billion, while he is shelling out the lion's share of the funds for the stadium. Taxpayers feel that the many millions could be used elsewhere, whether it be social services, education, or another sector. What about tax relief? Adding to the frustration is the fact that the construction is $560 million over its original estimate. Fox should know, though, that Pagula pays all of that. He pays any overruns. So there you go. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, a diehard Bills fan who is a native of Buffalo, said in January 2024, it was hard to pass through the legislation to get taxpayer money, but we got it done. So there you go. Look, it's something I've been really, one of the last things when I was in Buffalo, is they were refurbishing, golly, this goes back to 97. They were spending hundreds of millions for the old stadium, and I was like, nope, shouldn't do it. Everybody hated me.
Yeah. Right.
I was hated universally.
That there shouldn't be public money going into it?
I've said it for the longest time.
Yeah.
And we've said, we talk economics all the time, and we always tick off people when we talk economics. I don't know why. People wish to live in some type of fantasy world, but for the longest time, we have talked about stadium money, saying the problem with stadium money, the taxpayer dollars going, well, it brings in investment, it brings in. No, entertainment dollars, even if you build an entertainment complex close to a stadium, it's entertainment dollars that would be spent somewhere else, in the vast majority of it in that same location.
Right.
You're just taking it and moving it there. It's not like you're giving tax subsidies to a company that is producing a legitimate service, or because services, as we talk about in an economy, increase productivity in the economy, and that's what you want. You either wish to produce a durable good or a service that produces a legitimate product, and that grows the wealth. There's no wealth production in stadium building. It's something I've been talking about since I've been a radio talk show host. I've been against public financing of stadiums unless it's general stadiums for everything, if you wish to do it. But building sports-specific stadiums, NFL stadiums, for 8-9 games a year and maybe a concert or two, complete waste of money.
Right.
Complete waste of taxpayer dollars. And I've been saying for years, they can build their own stadiums. They just don't wish to because they know you will.
Right.
They know that the addiction to sports is so great that the majority of people will do it. But then you get the symbolism here, and boom, there it is. It's like when the PSLs came in, the personal seat licenses.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in Buffalo went crazy about it, but they're slowly paying them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and again, they use your money to build it and then charge you for going.
Yeah.
Well,
actually, in the price of tickets, most people, you see a lot of professional sports. Maybe baseball is an exception, but you look at the price of hockey tickets and NBA tickets and NFL tickets. The average family can't afford to go or have season tickets.
Right.
They may be able to go to one game, but it's hugely expensive to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But the public keeps voting in people that keep voting for these stadiums.
Right.
So. Whatever. But it's the thing that got to me is it's almost like it was new. The story was phrased yesterday because it first came out of Buffalo, and then it spread across the nation. Like, these people are shocked.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
These billionaires have a yacht, and they're not paying more for the stadium? Well, sorry, Rip Van Winkle. How long have you been asleep?
Right.
This has been going on. This has been going on really since the late 1960s when they started building modern stadiums. And the public start getting involved. In the past, they still had the public build stadiums, but most of them were general purpose stadiums that they built for a variety of sports. And so, but I just found it, we just woke up. We've been asleep for half a century. The public is paying so much for these stadiums? Why? And they have a yacht?
How dare you? Well, how dare you vote for it?
Things I would have if I was a billionaire. And things I would not have. I wouldn't have a yacht.
No.
You know why?
I can lease one.
Well, you know something? They rent it out. They rent the yacht out for what is it? I saw this story. They rent it out. The yacht is reportedly available to charter at around $500,000 per week. So that would be Pagula.
Yeah.
The thing is, it really got me when Pagula bought the Bills. Man, I was just, the media, everybody hated me because when he bought the Bills back then, this is when they were completely and totally anti-fracking. And so now I wasn't in the Buffalo media at the time. I was doing this show, but I was pounding it to everybody in the Buffalo media. And then some people did it on their newscast, actually, and people got ticked off because I said, that's New York State money going to subsidize somebody who fracks. Yeah. Your team is being bought, and all these hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars are going to support and subsidize a guy who fracks. Now, of course, I don't have a problem with that, that he fracks at all, and that's where he made his money. I don't know how much he's still involved in it, but that's where he made his money. He borrowed $7,000 from his family in '78. Now he's worth $7 billion, and it came from Pennsylvania, oil and gas. So, so he's a smart business person. But the fact is, I was trying to jab it to the liberals there because it drove them crazy. I remember when he bought the Bills, I said, all the liberals are quiet. They're all quiet. They hate fracking unless it brings them football. They don't want fracking to bring them cheap energy. But if it gets them football, then they're okay with it.
Yeah. They're okay with it. Everything is forgiven.
The New York liberal state of mind.
Yeah.
So that's how I have my fun. Getting at the liberals in my former home state. And I get back there enough to still tease them about it.
Yeah. Why not?
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Projections of fall fruit production for some crops per USDA's August production forecast. The National Agricultural Statistics Service's Anthony Prilliman notes while there has been previous indication of slightly less peach production of California clingstone and freestone varieties from the prior year, when adding other peach production states such as Georgia and South Carolina in USDA's latest forecast for that fruit.
Peach production is forecast to be down 3.8% from last year,
with both southeastern peach growing states reporting year-over-year declines in production for their crops. Turning to grape production.
Production is estimated at 5.59 million tons. That is up 3.4% from 2024.
California, far and away the nation's largest grape-growing state, reports a significant rise in wine grape production, lower raisin grape production, and no change in the number of table grapes produced from last year. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Okay, stories that happened during the week that we got to cover, including this one here. Got an audio cut yesterday from James Comer, the House Oversight Committee, about Ian Sams, who was the top White House spokesperson. He would speak. You'd see him all the time talking about what the president was thinking, what he was saying. He went before the House Oversight Committee chairman behind closed doors, and here's James Comer.
I mean, I can't say this enough. I want to say this one more time so everyone understands. Ian Sams, who was the White House spokesperson for a significant amount of Joe Biden's time as president, interacted with him two times. So, we're going to continue to bring people in. And again, this person, Ian Sams, is the one that would counter everything Robert Hur, or anytime anyone would suggest that Joe Biden wasn't mentally fit, he would say, no, he's at the top of his game. Every time he tweeted out, and several times he gave interviews on MSNBC. Every time I've interacted with the president, he was sharp. He asked great questions. In there, under oath, he interacted with the president two times, the entire time. The entire time he worked in the White House.
Now, we did check that out. It wasn't all 4 years. He was there from 22 to 24. So he was there 2 years. So once a year.
Yeah.
Or it could have been in the beginning where it was he met with him once and met with him again. It could have been when he first became the spokesperson, met with him one time, then met with him again, and then see him again for a year and a half. We don't know. But 2 times in a year, and he was one of the main people out there every day saying, every time I interact with him, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And he's saying, well, I guess, when I did talk to him, he was fine. But again, what he was selling to the American public was, I've talked to him now. That's what you're implying.
Right.
That's what you're communicating to the American public.
Right.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. All right, some audio of what happened yesterday. As we all know, the New York Appeals Court voided the nearly $500 million in penalties against the Trump organization. Let's hear how CNN covered it.
Okay.
And they covered it okay, at least this portion of it, with their legal analyst on with Wolf Blitzer. Here we go.
Okay.
Well, I'm not Wolf. I have been skeptical of the Attorney General's case for a long time. I'm on record saying that this is a huge win for Donald Trump any way you cut it, and this is a stinging rebuke to the Attorney General, Letitia James. The finding here, it's a very long, complicated ruling, but the bottom line is, while the finding of liability against Donald Trump can stand, for now at least, the damages award, which started at $350 million with interest, gets up close to $500 million, that is thrown out. And the core reason for that ruling, according to the judges, is essentially that there was not enough of a showing here that there were actual victims. And just to refresh people's memories, this is the civil fraud lawsuit brought by the Attorney General. The core allegation is that Donald Trump habitually overvalued his own assets when he was trying to get bank loans from banks and other lenders. And essentially, the argument that Donald Trump made below that has now had resonance in the appeals court is you're talking about very sophisticated, quote-unquote, victims. These are billion-dollar banks that made the loans, got repaid on the loans by Donald Trump with interest, and actually profited to the tune of millions of dollars. So it's not the typical type of fraud case where you have somebody stealing money from other people or ripping off unknowing consumers. So this ruling by the appeals court is monumental. It was also very unusual in that it took them nearly a year to reach this decision. As Caitlin Polance just said, the next step is going to be to go up to the highest court in the state, the Court of Appeals in New York State.
I think one of the things he missed was what two of the judges said, and I believe that it's going to increase. And if this gets to the federal level, which I believe it might, all depends what the court above this appeals court says. But if they come back with that agreement, as the two judges said, that his Eighth Amendment rights have been violated, that changes everything. You got a lawsuit at that point.
Yeah.
Trump does, and so if that's the final ruling, we went through that earlier. Looked at civil, whether you had civil or criminal recourse for malicious prosecution in New York State, and you do, and you also have it on the federal level. So again, this isn't over at all. I didn't find it. I found that you had to go through and look at the different judges' rulings, but I didn't find it that complicated of a case.
No,
or that. No, complicated of a decision.
Yeah.
There were just a number of decisions from different judges, but they were unanimous that the $500 million was just out of bounds. You had a couple of judges say, again, that it's a violation of the Eighth Amendment, which is unreasonable punishment.
Right.
What do you call it? I've got mind blank here. Which is the official?
Cruel and
unusual punishment.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then the other ones didn't go to the point of that his Eighth Amendment rights were violated. They simply said, there's no damages. Nobody got hurt. Mm-hmm. So if nobody got hurt, and this is the incredible thing, they were basically saying, you can't do this money because nobody got hurt, but we'll let the civil conviction stand. How?
Right.
Because in consumer fraud, which, the consumer fraud laws, which they filed this under, doesn't cover this at all.
Right.
And so it's almost as if, okay, we're not going to go with the $500 million, but we're still going to say that it's a legit case, and that makes no sense at all.
Yeah, that's the problem here. We'll see what the higher courts say here. Trump is ultimately going to keep winning on this, I believe.
I don't see how if he doesn't, he takes it up to federal court. This gets up to the Supreme Court. It's a slam dunk.
I think
he wins everything across the board.
I think so.
And I wanted to play this. This was from Mark Halperin's podcast. He had a number of guests on, but I just want to get to the part here where Mark Halperin talks about the Donald Trump lawsuit over 60 Minutes. And the fact of why they decided to. Paramount decided to settle. This is really, really interesting, but it does not, it gets us exactly what we thought. people said, well, it's because Donald Trump thinks that the merger won't come through. And maybe that was a part of it. But as Mark Halpern points out from the New York Times interview, it was, again, when they looked at, okay, what happens when you file a lawsuit? Oh, discovery. And they weren't as much worried about the Kamala Harris interview. They were worried about the interview that 60 Minutes did with Biden.
Oh.
And they're saying they could go in and get discovery and basically show what lengths they went at to keep Biden and his true condition out of the public.
Wow.
Which is fascinating. Here we go.
Here's a breaking news story related to bias about 60 Minutes. And I've said this before. Given their influence in our media society, their liberal anti-Trump bias has been as insidious as any other.
Oh, it's more than just anti-Trump. It's 60 Minutes political interviews have been pro-Democrat since at least the Obama era.
Yeah, we all know that. Anyone with eyes and ears know that. And yet 60 Minutes and CBS postures like they're the gold standard. Here's an interview the New York Times did. This is a new, I don't know the number, Sam, but you'll find it. Sherry Redstone did an interview with CBS, with the New York Times rather. And here's what comes out of that piece. The Redstones also worried that Mr. Trump's lawyers could cherry pick raw footage and internal communications and do more damage to CBS News's reputation than any settlement would. This is in the context of CBS settling with Donald Trump, giving him a bunch of money, and it was widely attributed to them wanting to get the merger through so the Redstones could pocket some cash. And the video that was most discussed was an editing of the Kamala Harris interview, which I've said, counter to everything else I've said about this matter, was ridiculous. It's just they edited an interview. There was nothing biased about it. But here's what it says. Ms. Redstone said CBS personnel had told her that on October 23, when Scott Pelley of 60 Minutes interviewed President Biden, the president had seemed drowsy, drowsy, and had to be prodded to answer. She and Tyler, I don't know who Tyler is, someone will tell me, worried that CBS might be accused of editing the interview to consider...
That was her son.
Her son, okay. To conceal Mr. Biden's failings. The case was never as black and white as people assume. So,
okay. Now, I disagree with him on the Kamala Harris because you and I saw both audio cuts. And I guess, people could disagree because you don't know unless you get discovery and see if there were emails that were sent back and forth. But when you and I saw what the promo was for it or what was played one night and then what was played the next night, obviously the context was completely different.
Right.
And if she's saying, and by the way, when Redstone says that Trump's lawyers could cherry pick their raw footage and internal communications and do more damage to CBS's reputation, or they might not have to cherry pick. She might say cherry pick because, hey, we don't have to show it, right?
Right.
But it might not have to have been cherry picked. They had to be scared to death. When we see some of the emails that, that Brennan and Clapper and Comey and everybody else was sending, and you're like, why would they do that? What type of idiots are they? Just think if you work for a private organization and you're a bunch of political activists and you hate Donald Trump, I think there might be a treasure trove of emails in there that you would not want to be public. And we had said this for the longest time, that one of the reasons that Trump is suing is he knows that he can build a Taj Mahal presidential library because the networks will be scared to death of discovery of the internal communications going back and forth between people about, which you then could come to a conclusion. Why do they broadcast the way that they do?
Mm-hmm.
Which would do a lot more damage. Right?
Yeah, it's you look at that and this entire thing. Look, I put the whole Russian hoax all the way up to the 24 election cycle. It's all part of the same attack plan. Whether it was the media, the Clintons, the Bidens, and their part in any of it, they all went out of their way to destroy one guy with false narratives, but also to prop up the other side and make it look like nothing was wrong when it came to Biden. Think about how dangerous that second part is. Going after a guy politically can be dangerous. But when you think about a guy who's a sitting president, then President Biden, when everyone around him knew he wasn't capable of making decisions, it boggles my mind. And I don't think we've even scratched the surface on things that can be learned here. I don't know how much of it we ever will learn. But I think there is a treasure trove. And all along the way, I think you had those people writing those emails, doing those communications, because they always thought they were going to win. They always thought there is no way. Remember Chuck Schumer? There's 6 ways to Sunday that the intel community can come at you. Well, he meant that.
You know, I'm shaking my head because in my mind, I'm remembering the Eric Harley quote: "Always assume you're going to lose."
You've got to run as if you're 20 points, 40 points behind.
Right. And I'm changing it. I'm changing it a little bit.
Yeah, no,
here.
I mean that's it.
But it's the same concept.
Right.
Basically, always cover your posterior lobe.
Well, and I don't know how they didn't see that. They just insisted on having constant communication, seemingly with each other.
I think it's a kind of arrogance that we just can't imagine.
Yes, no,
because
it is.
But I think because it's like, well, you guys can't be arrogant. I think that when you're a critical thinker and you connect all the dots and you're somebody that looks at the odds, you look at it and you say, I don't know.
Look,
so I'm going to make sure I cover my butt.
I'm tremendously good looking and intelligent, but that doesn't mean I'm arrogant.
Just a moron.
I'm a moron. I'm at the higher level. But it is that entire thing requires that kind of overconfidence, arrogance in thinking they were always going to get away with it. Mm-hmm. They were going to win. What did Strzok call it? Their insurance policy?
Yeah. Yep. 866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Now, this is the best ever.
Okay.
You see the ex-post from Steak and Shake?
All right. Mm-hmm.
This is the best. This is from, the fast food place Steak and Shake. Sometimes people want to change things just to put their own personality on things. At Cracker Barrel, their goal is to just delete the personality altogether. Hence, the elimination of the old-timer from the signage. Heritage is what got Cracker Barrel this far, and now the CEO wants to just scrape it all away. At Steak and Shake, we take pride in our history, our families, and American values.
Yeah.
All are welcome. We will never market ourselves away from our past in a cheap effort to gain the approval of trend seekers. Oh, my, I love where society is today. Not the bad stuff,
right?
But the good stuff now, and the back and forth, the push and shove back and forth.
Well, because you have to in the business world, especially in restaurants, you have to define what you are, which must include your heritage for a restaurant chain that's been around for a long time, and for the new CEO to basically dismiss that. And then say things like, our menu hasn't changed in ages. It's what people love you for. They want that home-cooked style meal. They want comfort food. Mm-hmm. That's what they go there for.
Yep.
And that's the experience. Well, if you're going to come in and just, I don't know what they plan to do on the menu, you can always add things and see if they work. But it needs to be a part of, again, that same base core identity that the company or that the destination for restaurant goers has always been. And if there's a reason, if your customer base is telling you, oh, we're tired of grits and biscuits, all right. If they stop ordering grits and biscuits, that's when you know. But, people line up at, if you've ever seen it, at lunchtime, dinner time, they're waiting outside in the front in rocker chairs.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.